And you garnered a lot of attention for your response to the budget this week by being extremely critical of Rachel Reeves. Didn't you take things too far?
I remember last year's budget, Rachel Reeves took a swipe at me. I wasn't even leader of the opposition then. She's forgotten now. I remember when Rachel Reeves was out there calling Rishi Sunak a liar. I remember when they were all calling Liz Truss a lettuce. But now it's them, and I'm merely talking about her competence. They can't take it. They like to dish it, but they can't take it. My job is to hold the government to account, not to provide emotional support for the Chancellor. And the people out there wanted someone to tell her she was doing a bad job, and I had to make sure that I got that message across.
Is it not beyond the normal bounds of political conversation, though, which can be very rough? Let's face it, Parliament is often very rough, especially on a Wednesday at Prime Minister's questions. But you called her spineless. You said that she was incompetent, and you mocked her for being mansplained when there was a colleague talking to her from the benches across. She clearly feels that that was something that made her feel very uncomfortable. And I know both of you have said before on previous occasions that actually it's important that politicians talk properly to each other, that they talk respectfully, or else, as Abby said, actually people watching think, you know what, that is the stuff of the playground. Don't you, as the leader of the opposition, have a responsibility not to go quite that far, not to be quite so personal?
That hasn't been the response that I've actually had. I've had thousands of people write to me saying, thank you for saying what all of us are thinking. Every single week, I stand opposite Keir Starmer. He does a lot of mocking. He's very rude. I remember when he called a COVID variant the Johnson variant. They forget. I don't care whether people misbehave at the dispatch box. What I care about is whether or not I'm doing a good job. She should care about whether or not she's doing a good job. She's doing a terrible job. And if she has lied, which I believe she had, about the state of the public finances, let's not forget people made decisions based on that. People drew down their pensions, something that they cannot reverse. Some people left the country worried about an exit tax. Some people fixed their mortgages. People made serious decisions on the back of her announcements, and now we're finding out that it was not true. So she needs to face up to that.
So you are claiming that she didn't tell the truth. She says she didn't mislead anybody. What happens now then? I mean, what's your party going to do about it?
Well, the Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride has written to the FCA because what we see is market
Financial Conduct Authority that runs the rules for the city.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So hopefully there will be an investigation, because it looks like what she was doing was trying to pitch roll her budget, tell everyone how awful it would be, and then they wouldn't be as upset when she finally announced it, and still sneak in those tax rises to pay for welfare. That's not how we should be running this process.
The exchange between Kemi Badenoch and Laura Quinsberg reveals a moment of sharp political confrontation that goes far beyond routine budget criticism. Badenoch positions herself not simply as an opposition figure, but as the voice of public frustration, arguing that Rachel Reeves' handling of the public finances wasn't just incompetent but actively harmful. She claims Reeves painted a distorted picture of the nation's economic condition, prompting people to make irreversible financial decisions, drawing down pensions, fixing mortgages, even leaving the country, based on what Badenoch insists were misleading statements. This accusation elevates the debate from a disagreement over fiscal policy to a question of honesty, accountability, and the ethical obligations of a chancellor. What makes the moment even more striking is Badenoch's attempt to frame Labour's outrage as selective memory. She cites past instances of mocking, ridicule, and harsh attacks from Labour figures to argue that her own criticisms fall well within the existing tone of Westminster politics. By doing so, she casts herself as someone refusing to play by a double standard. The push for an FCA investigation further signals her intent to turn this into a broader narrative of trust and transparency, suggesting that Reeves wasn't just wrong, but manipulated public expectations to soften the political blow of tax rises. In essence, this clash isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about who the public believes, who they see as honest, and who they think is playing games with the truth. Badenoch is betting that turning the debate into a moral question rather than a technical one will resonate far more deeply.
Now, the director of UK Special Forces made a conscious decision to cover up potential war crimes in Afghanistan, an inquiry has been told. The Afghanistan inquiry, which investigates alleged unlawful killings by UK Special Forces between 2010 and 2013, has released more summaries of the closed hearings.
Well, our Home and Security editor, Mark White, joins us in the studio now to take us through the updates. Bring us up to date, Mark.
Well, this is a High Court inquiry, and because of the sensitive nature of who we're dealing with here, Special Forces, a lot of the evidence is being heard in private, and including the evidence from this whistleblower, a former senior officer in Special Forces, who said that he had highlighted potential issues of criminality that were taking place in Afghanistan. This was back in 2011, February of 2011. He said he'd become aware of what looked like a bit of an anomaly with a significant number of deaths, kills by the regiment in Afghanistan, but alongside that, very few weapons being recovered, which you would expect if you are taking out insurgents, Taliban fighters and the like. That would be the result. He said there was one particular incident where in a nighttime operation, 9 alleged members of the Taliban were killed, only 3 weapons were recovered. There's that kind of thing that was raising his suspicions. He says he raised that up the chain to the director, the head of UK Special Forces, and subsequently his replacement a year later was also informed about this. But according to this whistleblower, he said that they did nothing, that it was effectively a cover-up, that all the director of UK Special Forces did, when he should have actually, according to this whistleblower, have referred it to the Royal Military Police. Instead of doing that, he instigated an internal inquiry into the tactics used by the regiments out there in Afghanistan at the time. Now, there's part of this testimony is to say it's was heard in secret, parts of it redacted, but the High Court have released some of this, and it's worth, I think, just giving you an insight into some of the testimony from this Special Forces senior officer, now former senior officer. He said, "I'm fiercely loyal to UK Special Forces, all of it, every unit in UK Special Forces, and I believe that loyalty is about doing the right thing, not necessarily the easy thing." But referring to these incidents, we spoke of a number of different incidents in his testimony. He said it's not special, it's not elite, it's not what we stand for, and most of us, I don't believe, would either wish to condone it or to cover it up. And he finishes by saying it's not loyalty to your organisation to stand by and to watch it go down a sewer. So that's his testimony. Clearly there will be, and there are people on the other side, given the counter narrative to this, believe that those SAS troops were doing the right thing. They were, fighting a very, very difficult campaign against effectively an insurgent force, where you don't know in these villages, in these tribal villages, who is actually a member of the Taliban, who is a villager. It can be very difficult to tell, and the old fog of war, as it's been known as, is very, very apparent there. But as I say, this is the Afghan inquiry into alleged war crimes. It's continuing at the High Court.